Break it down for us dumb folks in the back.
I use it. Yeah, it makes sense.
Oh, hey, thanks for joining.
No, you're
Wow.
welcome. Nice to meet you. Rebecca, nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming here.
Rebecca. That's why I didn't.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, no, I'm a licensed. Yeah. What's your last name?
No, I kind of lost my.
Yeah, if you
You
don't-
probably been doing
Yeah.
the pre-life or something.
I'm so excited. And just presented
Okay,
this as
that's a really cool idea.
I'm shocked that has not been done.
service contract.
Yeah, when I saw his application, I went on Amazon right away.
Right, I
Nothing.
Googled while I was talking to something, I'm totally fine.
Yeah, nothing. I was blown away. I'm like, that's a great idea.
For me, the process will work, because when I'm making pancakes, I'm making them for the I just want to get it
Well, there's some design situations that he needs to want to.
Did you submit to the state?
But I think you're right about the skew thing, that he doesn't realize it's exponential. Not only do you have one with all these schools, but you have a pack.
We'll maybe do that next year when we can actually show that we know how to do this.
Yeah, if you're worried, well, you want to get the price down, you're doing China, you're ordering 10,000 of each of those tiny SKUs. When he said garage, I was like, oh, poor guy.
I think that. If we didn't have ownership. I think we'll have good traction.
Are we good to go?
We think, Aaron?
Are we going?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Daniel.
Should I catch the door or?
My name's Daniel.
No, you can leave.
That's great. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Rubio. I'm the owner of Steward, a dryer vent cleaning company here in Rexburg. I established this company 2.5 months ago, and I'm super excited today to share with you what we've been able to do. And when I say we, I use that language a lot because it's me and God. I know I couldn't do it without him. So when I say we, that's what I mean. I am the sole founder and manager of it. So you might be wondering, what's the deal with dryer vents and why do they need to be changed? And I'd love to answer that question for you by sharing the story of Sailor Johnson.
Know every time that you do a load of laundry, you should clean out this lint trap. But you might not realize that tubing that runs from your dryer to the outside of your home should also be cleaned regularly to prevent fires. A winter night exactly 2 years ago changed this family's lives forever. 16-year-old Sailor Johnson killed when her family's Harrisonville house caught fire.
Yeah, it was devastating.
Initially, investigators said the fire's cause was undetermined, but later the family learned their tragedy was sparked by a load of laundry.
When as a teenager, you worry about getting in a car accident or all those kinds of things. The clothes dryer is the absolute last thing you'd ever think about.
Since then, the Johnsons have learned a whole lot about dryer fires. It turns out Sailor's family had noticed the dryer was taking several cycles to dry clothing, and the machine was hot to the touch. Those are two telltale signs your dryer vent is clogged and in dire need of attention.
The shock is one thing, but then, you really get kind of angry when you find out what happened.
I can't imagine being the parents of Sailor knowing that that was 100% preventable. Let me ask you a question. By show of hands, who here has a dryer at home? Okay, that's all of us. Now again, by show of hands, how many of you would be willing to pay $150 to prevent a tragedy like that? Yeah, go ahead and raise it. Now, this is a rhetorical question, but what about $500? What about $1,000? Right? It really makes you think. Now, make no mistake, we are more than just a cleaning company. We protect families and we prevent tragedies by offering these services. What do I mean by that? This is not an isolated incident. Clogged dryer vents contribute to over 15,000 dryer fires in the US annually on average. leading to $238 million in property damage and several stories like cinders. One story is one too many. These are preventable. Now, in case you're wondering how bad this problem is here in Rexburg, I took a quick 20-minute drive to 5 apartment complexes, and this is what I found here. So you might ask, how do these problems get here, right? What's happened? And it's not that property managers don't think it's important. It's more so that it's an out of sight, out of mind kind of problem, right? And somebody might make the argument, well, I haven't cleaned my dryer vent for 5 years, 10 years, nothing's happened yet. Exactly, yet, right? This is not so much a matter of will a tragedy occur, but when will the tragedy occur in Rexburg, right? So there's something that we can do about this. Like I mentioned, it's an out of sight, out of mind problem, and that's how we end up getting to this point. So much so to the point that appliance manufacturers have actually started to put indicators on these newer dryers to make sure that it is on our minds, in our sight, right? So that we understand that this is something that needs to be taken care of. But we have a solution. Steward uses compressed air to clean out dryer vents efficiently. We also offer flame and crush resistant transition hoses that allow us to replace damaged ones that can also contribute to these fire hazards. So where can we make the biggest impact with Steward, and what's our competitive advantage? So surprisingly, our competitors are HVAC companies. Kind of surprising, kind of not. Let me explain a little bit. When you need your dryer vent cleaned out, just like anything else you try to find, get on your phone, right? Dryer vent cleaning near me, and what comes up? HVAC companies, right? The other way that you're gonna go about solving this problem is calling up an appliance repairman who will charge you, somebody I talked to just the other day, $90 just to show up and tell you that your dryer's fine and it actually needs to be, the vent actually needs to be cleaned out, right? So that's our competition, but both of those competitors, they're not focused on dryer vent cleaning. That's not their core competency. They're focused on HVAC work and fixing appliances. That's where they're making their money. And because of that, they don't have the processes in place to tackle these large apartment complexes where we're seeing this big issue. Steward, on the other hand, we do focus on dryer vent cleaning. That is our core competency. And because of that, we intend to use processes that enable us to tackle these large apartment complexes effectively, as I've shown here in the slide. With over $500,000 worth of work in Rexburg alone, and that's a conservative number, we have a great opportunity to make a huge impact to help property managers to prevent tragedies and to protect families. Laundromats, assisted living facilities, and short-term rentals also need our services. So we started small, like I mentioned, just got this started 2.5 months ago, right? But we've been able to set up some strategic relationships that will help us to grow our customer base quickly. So first of all, we've recently signed a contract with Eagle Pros, a $500,000 home service company that serves consumers across the state of Idaho. And what's unique about this is that they have a strong online presence. So you remember earlier I mentioned you look up the dryer vent cleaning and then the HVAC companies come up. Partnering with them means that they're one of the ones that come up. And then we have arranged a specific agreement where we will have the first right of refusal. So all the business will come to us first, and then we'll retain 90% of the revenue that we generate. The other 10% will go to compensate Eagle Pros. I've also made a personal connection with the Mr. Appliance franchise owner of the Eastern Idaho, Western Wyoming territory. They just did just over $1 million last year in revenue. And it's actually, like when I say me and God, I'm telling you, like, there have just been doors open after doors open these last 2.5 months, and this is one of them. So I was able to actually purchase the rig that I have from him, and he's been a great mentor to offer advice, offer counsel if I have a question. He's got many more years of experience than I do in business. And also, they've agreed to send us referrals for dryer vent cleaning because, as I mentioned, they don't want to offer that service because they're focused on appliance repair, so they want to pass it along to us. And then also we have, we're finalizing an agreement with a local small appliance repair company making men's. That's led by a BYUI graduate, and we'll have the same referral partnership. We'll be able to support each other's businesses. Now, just like in any personal relationship with your significant other, businesses can have relationship goals too. So these are ours. We intend to work with insurance companies that will insure people who have a property, right? You have an apartment complex, a home, you need it insured, come to the insurance company, and they have home inspectors that will go and check these properties. So we can partner with them to educate those clients and then get business from them as well. Then we also have property management companies that we intend to build relationships with. For example, Connection Property Management and Redstone Residential that manage several of the apartment complexes here as well, including student apartment complexes. I don't think it's a secret that students don't know how to clean up the dryer lint traps, right? Like I've lived in apartment complexes myself. I'm about to graduate in April, and I can see that it's a problem. So you might be thinking, okay, I can see, like as a homeowner, I want to protect my family, but what about a property manager, right? Like, why would they care about this? They might have a little bit of a different perspective, and that's true, but it's just as important for them, right? They need to protect their investment. If a fire happens in an apartment complex, that's a lot bigger of a deal. That's a big black mark on their apartment for current residents and for future residents. In addition to that, apartment complexes have dryers that are running all the time. Like they're running way more frequently, right? And so because of that, you have those problems like I showed you earlier in that slide with all these clogged dryer vents, right? And I'm sure there's more out there. In addition to that, you have increased energy costs, right? And repair costs. More wear and tear on the dryer, you're running it more, increased energy. So a neglected dryer vent can cost between $84 and $231. There's a lot of variables that go into that, so that's why it's kind of a bigger range. But our price with Steward lands at $150 for a standard vent cleaning. Not only does it have the potential to save them some money, but also to prevent a tragedy that is 100% preventable. So this is just a quick kind of breakdown of some of those numbers. I don't expect to go through all this. But I will say that that figure up there at the top doesn't take into account the cost of property damage, right? And things that and the headache that is, right? And of course, again, what price do you put on preventing a tragedy? So as I mentioned, our service begins at $150 and it goes up from there depending on the complexity of the job. The National Fire Protection Association recommends that dryer vents are cleaned annually. So that's a source of recurring revenue annually. Our operating margin will be at about 45% when we hire an employee, so it's a little bit higher right now. And then, as I mentioned, we began serving customers in mid-February, so about a month ago, and we've already been able to generate just over $100,000 in revenue. Now, those have been single-family homes, but that's been able to help us kind of establish a presence so we can gain some traction. Our goal, what we plan to do, is break $100,000 in revenue by the end of this year. As far as capital requirements, so come out at just over $7,700. That's my own money. There's no any other investors involved with this, and plan to break even by May of this year. Now, as far as use of funds from this competition, I won't go too much in detail to this. If you have questions about it, I'd be happy to answer, but just to kind of give you an idea of what those funds would help us do, it would help us to get to a point of $0 in debt, so I still have a little bit to pay off on that van, and then purchasing equipment that will help us to actually be able to access the 3rd and 4th floor from the exterior of the building for these apartment complexes. We also have job safety, of course. That's something that we're being mindful of, thinking about certifications, right, for our technicians. That's something that's not required in the state of Idaho, but it will be helpful in building trust with our customers. And we also have lint collection system, right? When you're cleaning these dryer vents, there is lint just coming all out of these vents, right, all over the place. What we intend to do is to make it nice and clean, and making that purchase will help us to improve customer satisfaction. And then employee wages, of course. Like I mentioned, we want to be able to hire technicians and get that going to be able to employ members of the community. So that's where that money will be allocated to. Now, what's the timeline look like? What are the next steps for us to accomplish this and make this happen? So now that we've established a presence, we intend, like I mentioned, to continue building relationships working on single-family homes and smaller apartment complexes that will help us as we move forward to focus on that goal of putting a heavy emphasis on large apartment complexes by the third quarter. And then by the end of the year, we hope to be able to purchase more equipment, expand our service area, and of course, like I said, continue growing the team. As I mentioned earlier, I am a solo operator right now. I realize that it takes a team to make big things happen. So the next step for us, like I mentioned, would be hire a technician to clean dryer vents, maintain equipment, handle customer service, boots on the ground. And then I would remain the member manager for now to oversee operations, lead goal planning and achievement, customer acquisition for these big accounts, training technicians, and so forth. And then, of course, we're gonna need a tax accountant, right, to maximize our finances, help with tax planning and strategy. So that's where we're at there. I wanna thank you so much for your time, for your willingness to listen to this. I hope that you can see the potential that this company has, not only to grow as a business, but also protect families. And when you invest in Steward, you are investing in helping to prevent tragedies. Thank you so much again for your time, and I'll take your questions now.
I'll start. So are you, as far as your growth strategy, are you looking for just Rexburg, or are you looking outside of Rexburg, right? Like, I think the purpose of part of this is if you were to take an investor, right, and try to get a return on his money or her money, where does that return happen, right? Or are you just looking for the $5,000 to help you, and that's it?
Sure, absolutely, that's a great question. So, right now, of course, being so new, right, like I said, 2.5 months, all of this has happened, and it's kind of hard to see like what's going to happen in the future, but the plan is to be able to, first of all, not try to scale too quickly, but be able to service Rexburg, and then as soon as we're in a place to be able to expand our service area, start doing more in like Idaho Falls, and then be able to grow out to Pocatello. Pocatello has another campus community there with the school down there, and so there's other apartment complexes like that house students. That would be a great opportunity to make a big impact there as well. And then from there, who knows what's next, right? So there could be opportunities in other places, not only in Idaho, but in other states as well.
Do you have any ideas for Stewart as far as maybe other service offerings you plan on just sticking to dryer vent, or are there other things you've thought of that you could also include?
Yeah, absolutely, great question. Now I will admit, I haven't done a ton of research yet into exactly what that would take, but to answer your question about if I've thought about it, I definitely have considered adding fridge coils are actually another thing that's out of sight, out of mind that can cause more wear and tear on the fridge. There's a coil that builds up with dust over time. Those are supposed to be cleaned out about every 6 months. Mr. Appliance franchise owner that I talked to, he's like, yeah, we run into those a lot. So that's another opportunity.
And the life of your fridge goes down significantly.
What's that?
When you don't clean it, the life of your fridge drops almost like that.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also have air filters is another opportunity to think about. People are just not thinking about changing their air filters for their home, so that's something that needs to be done. I wouldn't say that this would happen necessarily this year, but there is a possibility as we continue forward to consider like other opportunities to like replace venting. That's not something we offer now because that would require licensing that we don't have yet. But yeah, there are some other opportunities to kind of increase revenue that way as well. Yeah, good question. I will say also, a service we actually currently offer now, in addition to cleaning the dryer vents, is a full service where we'll take out the lint trap housing from the front of the dryer where there tends to be a lot of buildup there too, and clean that out, so.
You just vacuum that out?
Yeah, there's vacuuming, and then you have the lint screen. Sometimes can build up like a residue because of fabric softeners, so that needs to be scrubbed as well. Yeah, and then we have an air compressor that helps as well, cleaning on some of those little. We like to be pretty particular.
I love the OCD.
Yeah, it's like if somebody pays me to do this, I'm gonna make sure this thing's clean, So.
You said you're graduating coming up. Is your plan going all in on this, or what's your outlook look like?
Yeah, I don't have a job right now, so actually, just to kind of paint that picture, I was working in a dental office here for 6 months. Down the road, that's still a picture in my mind of dental school, but that is gonna be like about 2 years out at least. And so for me, I realized, I had this entrepreneur itch, and I was like, I know I can do something. I don't feel like I'm using my full capacity here. And I quit my job because I was like, if I don't jump into this, it's not going to happen. It's not going to move as fast as I'm hoping for it to. So going forward, that is my plan, is to be able to put more time into this.
How much of your business from that is referral versus like you have an online presence and marketing you're doing?
Yeah, great
It sounds like
question.
most of it's from referral.
Great question. So that's the relationships that we've established now. There's still work to be done on that to make that pick up. With the Eagle Pros agreement, I believe I signed that contract a week ago, and so they're putting things in place to get set up in Rexburg. So we haven't gotten anything from there yet. Right now, the business that we've generated, like I said, in this last month has just been word of mouth. I do have some some door hangers. This is kind of where we're starting, and I was like, I don't know what's the next thing to do here, So I just printed out some door hangers and thought, I'm going door to door, and you'd be surprised at how
I bet you could get a 10% response rate out of door hangers,
Yeah, I honestly haven't put enough out yet. More, it's been trying to talk with customers and educate them. And when I started, I didn't really understand how to give the best pitch, right? As I prepared for these competitions, it's evolved to where you can show people this is a problem, and you might not be aware of it, and we're here to help.
So Daniel, did you say that you can't replace the hoses?
We can.
You can?
Yes.
Okay, I thought you said that you had to have a license.
No,
for
for vent-
for
for
other
vents.
venting. For other
Yeah,
venting.
yeah.
Okay.
So if I could make the distinguishment there for you, the vent runs from the interior wall to the exterior of the home.
Yeah.
The transition hose connects to the dryer.
Okay.
Yeah.
So walk me through your pricing strategy here, because it would seem to me if your experience is what mine is, probably about 50 to 70% of the hoses that are actually there have been crushed or canted or something. I'm thinking that in addition to your cleaning, you've got a huge opportunity to be able to upsell with replacing the hosing.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So-
that's a great question.
So that's part of that pricing strategy you're going, as far as the service just for cleaning the sander there versus this versus just replacing the hose.
Yeah, great question. I've already had one customer actually who had that situation.
Yeah.
I have a picture of it, and I didn't include it in here. I almost did. But yeah, it was the exact same thing. They had a hose that was way too long. It got crushed back there.
Yeah.
That restricts airflow. That's a problem. Lint buildup and so forth. So this is our pricing for these different services that we offer. So it starts at $150. Some of these vents, the nature of the work is that it is too far to reach from ground level. So I have to get on a ladder, and then if that's the case, charge $175 to clean that. Some of them actually come out of the roof. I haven't done any of those jobs yet. And there's some jobs where if it's just too dangerous, we won't touch it. It's just not worth putting anybody at risk. But those ones we charge $230 for. Now, the full service, like you were mentioning, right now we have the promotion that includes the replacement of the transition hose with that full service. Otherwise, standalone, it would be $70 to replace that. So, yeah, we have the same pricing structure if we do a full service, and then half, depending on the complexity, it goes up from there.
Are you having people sign up for annual services, so it's a discounted rate?
Yeah.
Like a membership?
That's a
Yes.
great question. It's actually been something I've recently considered, so I haven't been able to put a lot of time into developing yet. But it's something that I have considered. I did insert in my website a place right there that says, hey, don't forget, this needs to be done yearly, sign up now, so we can get information, collect information like that. But I haven't gotten to the point where I've really pushed that yet.
Even if you just collected that database with the dates, and you have an email reminder that blasts out after a year, says, hey, once in a year, just to
Yeah.
remind people.
Absolutely.
Then you can get that residual business.
Yeah, and that's right there, right, to the point of bring it to your mind, right?
Yeah.
Because your lawn gets out of hand, and you do something about it because you see it. And when a dryer vent gets out of hand, you're not thinking about it.
Well, this is a continual need.
Yep.
And then at the same time, your customer acquisition costs are gonna drop precipitously because you're gonna have a repeat customer. Because that's gonna be your biggest challenge here, getting the initial, and then after that, You should be able to actually be able to
They
come
think
back.
they're
at
getting a
least
good
annually,
deal,
yeah.
and your margin's actually fatter.
Exactly, to JC's point, if you were to do it with like with air filters and stuff, you're in their home every quarter,
Right.
rather than just once a year. More of those services, once a year is gonna be 2 services, the rest of it's gonna be 1. And your customer acquisition cost is nothing.
Yeah, and that provides a great opportunity for us to strengthen the relationship with the customers. How's your dryer vent doing? How's your dryer cleaning? It's doing great, awesome.
I'll sell you filters, by the way.
Thank you.
Dude, I would, on the, is it called tubing, what do you call that?
The vent, yeah.
The part,
Mhm.
on that, yeah, I think you get to the point where you can buy it yourself. So actually, not buying it from somebody, so you get that market as well.
Yeah, oh, are you talking about,
If you're replacing those tubes.
oh, the,
tubes
yes, the
called-
transition hoses.
The
Yeah.
hoses.
Yeah, that's right.
I've been
Yeah.
buying those in bulk and
Oh, for sure.
selling them direct.
Yep, I actually, well, I don't know if it's a mistake or not yet, but if I would've went back, sorry, I don't need to go back to all these slides. Anyway, if I would've thought about that a little bit better, I would've started with a couple, but I actually started that way. I found a supplier that I could get
Awesome.
bulk pricing from, so I just bought a bunch of them. Going back, I'm like, would've been nice to hang on to some of that cash, you know, but, that's something I've learned, so, yeah.
But your margin's higher if you buy it.
Yeah,
A lot.
yeah, yeah.
Is your, are you going after more of the apartments or more residential?
Yeah.
And where are you finding more success currently?
That's a great question. So currently, as I've mentioned, just in the last month that we've actually been servicing customers and being in school with biochemistry and business strategy, that's taken up a lot of time too. I'm trying to do well in my classes, but so it hasn't given me a ton of time as much as I'd like to be out selling. So right now, the thought that I came into this was, hey, you know, I actually didn't really have much experience with dryer vents last year. I mean, even at the beginning of the year. And so I've been spending a lot of time learning about that. And so I wanted to get hands-on, let's go searching customers, you know, single-family residences, starting with my network. The goal is to focus on apartment complexes, because again, that's where we see the opportunity for us to make the biggest impact and what nobody's touching. It's like a new market strategy, right? It's like nobody's actually serving that market right now. And so right now it's single-family residences, and the plan is continue doing things that push us to focus on that.
Can I add a comment to that?
Yeah, go for it.
And it's gonna be counter to what you think it's gonna be. Usually the apartment complexes have their own maintenance guys, and they're gonna use their guys to do it, because it's gonna cost them more to do all their events to hire you. I would focus on single family. You can find way more success, because it's out of mind for those people. The maintenance guys, they're gonna usually have, you know, processes and procedures in place. This is what I do this month, this is what I do next month.
Just isn't in their process, but.
Yeah, if you're single family, I think you're gonna have way more success, but that's just my personal opinion.
That's a good point. I actually have talked to a few smaller apartment complexes that seem to do that.
They don't have maintenance guys, that's.
Well, they do, they're the ones who do have the maintenance guys.
The
And that's the
small
thing that's-
apartment complexes?
Yes, that's the thing that's interesting, is that
Interesting.
for them, because they don't have to do so many, they just have guys that are taking care of all kinds of things, and they throw that in their task list. But for these big apartment complexes, it's like there's so many of them that, from what I can tell with all those clogged dryer vents,
I hope you're right. That would
anybody's
be awesome.
taking care of it.
There's nothing wrong with having the pulse.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely, yeah.
Dual channel, for sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, that's a great point.
What's been your customer response as far as your price point? Because especially on, you know, on single family homes, there's a lot of DIYers,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
that just didn't think about it.
Right.
And then you show up on the door with this and you think, oh, no, I have to do that.
And something I feel like I've learned is that sometimes, this is actually something I've learned with the business management minor that I've had here at BYU Idaho, is that I've had to learn that people don't always think the way that I do, because I am always DIY kind of guy, right? It's like, I'm like, oh, like I can save money, I'll just do it myself. What I realize is that there's some people who are just willing to pay because they're busy.
Sure.
They don't want to deal with the complexities of it. Hey, I specialize in it, I'll come take care of it, get it done 30 minutes to an hour, and we're good, and you don't have to worry about it. So that's a great question. I feel like right now where I'm at is the people who are worried about the price, I just say that's not my market, that's not who I'm trying to sell to right now. So as far as your question of the response, I haven't had anybody say like, man, that's way too much. You know, I just tell them what it is, and the people that have hired me haven't had a problem. In fact, I had somebody who gave me like a $20 tip, who I didn't expect that from them, but.
How many services have you provided so far?
5. Any other questions?
A comment.
Yes.
I know what you're doing here.
Yeah.
You're showing, look at all this crap I got out of your bin. But you're also showing me throw it on the ground outside their house.
Yeah.
So I would put something under there in your photo.
That's a great point. Like
I'd
I
be like, oh,
mentioned,
man.
this was like probably like one of the first weeks where I was like, I need to get working out there, and I was like just trying to do everything at once. And
Just some
that's it,
insight.
yes.
That's all that was.
Yeah, actually, I would like some advice if anybody's got any like ideas on how to go about that, because like you pointed out, that picture paints a picture. It's like, I didn't even realize that there could be this much lint sitting in my driveway. But then if I post a picture where it's all collected and clean, it's like, is that a pantyhose hanging off of a tube? Like, what is that? You know what I mean? So how do you?
Well, even if there was a little bit of plastic, like you threw it on a plastic surface.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yep, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Yeah, does anybody else have any other ideas on that? Because that's actually a great point that I've thought about. I don't know how to tackle that necessarily, other than that.
Your marketing is very effective.
Yes, it is.
Very effective.
Yeah, your little video was awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, no matter what happens, just thanks so much for letting me have that experience and just your insights. That's really helpful. I appreciate that.